Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us, especially those folks on the West Coast. I know it's early, you may not have had your coffee yet, but I encourage you to grab a cup and sit with us. We have something really special for you today, and a little bit different out of our wheelhouse. I would encourage you all, if you feel comfortable, to turn on your video, use your chat box, all the stuff you guys are really used to doing. At this point from our online Shoptalks. We are recording this session today for the folks who can't make it. But without further ado, I would like to introduce our host today, Ashley Owens. She's a networking concierge and a good friend, and I really hope that you enjoy our presentation today.
Thank you very much. I would like to say a big thank you to Rachel Yatka and Rita Pagan for having me on today. I am such a big fan of both of these amazingly hardworking, wonderful ladies who have helped me and have been a huge supporter of all the things that I have the pleasure and the privilege of doing. So thank you for having me on today. And folks, I hope you're strapped in because I've had 7 cups of coffee and my energy level is a little higher than most. So what we're going to be talking about today is networking, which is obviously something that we all do, but more on the tactical area of virtual networking. So the best part about participating in this presentation is that I can see your chats. So if you'd like to send out a question or have things that you'd like to discuss within the presentation, this is supposed to be interactive and I'm all about it. So feel free to drop a line in, I'll be able to answer, and we'll get started on this. So without further ado, here we go. So also one thing, when it comes to networking, and we'll go more into this as the presentation goes on, but networking is a personal activity, right? It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. So the point of this presentation is to identify and cherry pick from things that make sense for you, and we'll go why into that's important. So this may seem a little bit overwhelming because there's a lot of information, but don't think you have to do everything. These are just best practices. I just want to set those expectations in the very beginning. All right, so that's my face, but we're gonna go through a couple fun little quips about me just to kind of give you some background, and fun facts are always so wonderful. So I'm originally from North Jersey, which means I talk fast, and we have the best bagels. Now all the Jews and the Italians, they come from New York, so that's why New Jersey's got the best bagels. I'll fight you on that. I have no kids, but a very, very, very fat cat. Speaking of my fat cat, if you hear a small child crying in the background, it's because he would like second breakfast, and I do not have a small baby in a closet. My background also as previously a celebrity personal assistant, which means I have a lot of therapy bills, and it's just like the Devil Wears Prada. Be happy to answer any questions on that later. That was in New York City. I've competed in CrossFit competitions a long time ago. Now when I say competed, I mean participated. So I came in 31st place out of 34, which means I didn't die. So at my best, I was able to deadlift 225. Haven't been back to the gym in about a year, but at least this is a cool fun fact. So if I ever get ticked off at somebody, I can throw at somebody at least at 225 pounds a little bit, maybe about 2 inches. Karaoke Champ 2016, which just means tequila was involved and it was a good crowd. I've been in 12 movies as an extra. In my background, when I worked in New York, I was, again, a celebrity personal assistant, but I also worked on film and television sets. So I was an intern at a casting agency, and they couldn't pay me. So they put me on movie sets when they had to fill background and extras. So the only cool skill I was able to gain from being a background extra was patience, and I could sleep anywhere. So when you're on set for 12 to 16 hours, you're there and you're sitting and you're trying to figure out when your next, take is to just stand and be a tree, but then I could lean up against a wall and really pass out anywhere. So airplane rides are kind of cool for me, and I can sleep in any direction. The last bit, I once ate a Carolina Reaper. Sally, I see you laughing because you know how painful that is. Yep, so if anybody can nod, let me know what a Carolina Reaper is. Yep, okay, so for those, Joni, I gotcha. The Carolina Reaper is one of the hottest peppers in the world. And I get a little competitive when somebody dares me to do something, and tequila is also involved. But anyway, I ate a Carolina Reaper and I regret it, and it was a great story to tell, and maybe if we all become friends and have a cocktail, we'll talk about it. Great, so as we go through, here's the agenda for today, once my computer decides to be a pain in the butt. All right, here's the agenda for today. We're gonna talk about the reality of networking. Steps to get started, knowing yourself, knowing your audience, planning your work and working your plan, tools and resources, and questions on how I can help. The reason why I'm kind of giving you guys the agenda is because you kind of figure out like what places you want to really kind of dig deep into. So I would be happy to kind of dive into each of these topics a little bit more. Just let me know. Okay, so here's the problem with people, because we're all in that space right now. Big problem with people is here's what the norm is, okay? We've got non-essential workers are operating virtually, which just means we're trying to figure out the balance between working really hard and taking breaks in between, okay? Then we have not having a clue how to join webinars, even though they've received emails 4 times with detailed instructions. So you've got people who you've worked with, they're like, how do you make money? Can you please just scroll down in the email? Right, so it becomes with a lot of frustrations, and it comes with a lot of things that are going on that we may not actually be used to, but we're making it work and we're accommodating as and leaning into the process. Then the norm is also wondering when it's appropriate to reach out to people. So we're going to go more into that, and this also incorporates how, you know, in the beginning of the pandemic, it was kind of a little difficult to figure out, when do I reach out to this person, this client, this prospect, this networking partner. And we're going to talk about the appropriateness, but now towards the end of the month, everyone is kind of getting into the rhythm of how things are working and how things are moving. So it's a little bit easier now to reach out. We'll go into some of those templates to do that. And then are pants optional? We know we always joke about this, but guys, it's really nice if you just dress up. Please wear pants, makes you feel better, especially if you have high-waisted ones. Just make it work and kind of feel like you're doing a good job. So here's the reality, okay? Only people, when it comes to networking, here are the top 3 things to recognize in a networking partner or somebody that you care to network with. Only people who genuinely care are going to talk to you. Only people who genuinely care are going to help you anyway. And only people who genuinely care are going to ask you for realistic favors. If these people or if these things within the person that you're meeting does not hit one of these or all 3 of this criteria, they are not meant to be in your circle, okay? So people who genuinely care are going to talk to you and not at you like an Italian mother asking when you're going to have kids, okay? And then the people that are going to help you anyway are the ones that are actually interested in seeing you succeed. And the people who genuinely care are going to ask you for realistic favors. It's not asking you for, hey, can you put $5 grand down on this table for this event? Or, hey, can you please, give me this recommendation? I've only met you once. These are realistic favors. Things like, hey, would you mind sharing this on our LinkedIn page? Would you mind making an introduction to somebody? Here's a great, couple sentences on who I am and, why I'd like to meet that person. Making it easy for people to say yes when you ask for these kinds of favors. So here's a question. You don't have to answer it because I can't hear any of you. But what's the maximum number of people that we can maintain relationships and have social interactions with? I'm going to go and say a few numbers. What do you guys think? I'm going to go 75. Higher or lower? I can see you, so you can go high. No? Janie, what do you think? Higher? Lower? Do you only like 5 people? You only like 5 people. Okay, just making sure. Yeah, I only like 2, but still, in your lifetime. So the number is 150, and I'll tell you why. The reason why this is important to understand is that there are 100 people that you can maintain social interactions with. So according to British anthropologist Robin Dunbar, according to the theory, the tightest circle has just 5 people. These are loved ones. That's followed by a successive layer of 15 good friends, 50 friends, and 150 meaningful contacts, 500 acquaintances, and then 1,500 people that you can recognize. Now, people will migrate in and out of these layers, but the idea is that the space has to be carved out for any new people to come in. So if you exceed 150, and a network is unlikely to last long or cohere well with each other. How many LinkedIn contacts do I have? So Rachel just asked, I have a million LinkedIn contacts. I know 5 people. Just kidding. We'll go into that, I promise. We'll sort it out. When it comes to LinkedIn connections, we'll sort that out and how to nurture those relationships. And actually, in addition to this presentation, I have a really good video that Bryn Tillman, who's a subject matter expert in LinkedIn, does, and she'll show you how to nurture those as well by exporting those contacts. So My point in this is that it's 150 people that you can have meaningful connections with, which means who are you filling those slots with? You don't have to meet every Joe, Dick, and Harry. You don't have to talk to every single person on LinkedIn. You have 150 slots that you can actually, as a human being, maintain these relationships with. So recognize that. Recognize that that's the amount that you can actually handle. Doesn't mean you have to hit 150. It just means that's the cap. So, story time. Does anybody know who William Dawes is? Shake your head, you can say no. Give me an idea. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, so William Dawes did the exact, but everyone knows who Paul Revere is, right? History knows who Paul Revere is. Okay, so William Dawes did the exact same thing Paul Revere did. The exact same thing. He rode on the same track, he just went into a different direction. The reason why history remembers Paul Revere is because Paul Revere was an information broker. An information broker is a person who occupies a key role in a social network by connecting unrelated groups of people. He targeted well-connected people during his ride, and that's why his news spread wildly and quickly. William Dawes was not an information broker, so he did not know what doors to knock down when he entered that small town. So the moral of the story is, take this concept into consideration with your own business. If that information isn't delivered to the right people, it's going to fall into obscurity, just like William Dawes. So think about that when you guys are making your connections. And what message you're putting out there, and to whom you're putting it out there to. Okay, so this is important, and the reason we're going to go through some of these topics here. So think about this when you're virtually networking, or when you're networking in general. What is your goal? Okay, is it to build engagement on your LinkedIn profile so people can see what you're doing? You're positioning yourself as a subject matter expert. You're showcasing some really good educational pieces. You're a thought leader. What does that mean? Are you staying in front of your current network with thoughtful content? Again, are you putting information out there that's beneficial to your network? Are you building new professional friendships? There's such a thing as professional friendships, right, guys? Like there is, people at the end of the day, they don't give a damn about what you do. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what you do. Okay, people care how you make them feel, right? That's the nomenclature for that. What's important to recognize, though, in that statement is that it is now more important than ever. People are thirsty for human-to-human interaction because we're in a pandemic right now. So how are you staying in front of them and caring and nurturing those relationships and keeping those professional friendships? Because at the end of the day, the people that are going to refer you business or refer you to some other good, great networking partner who's going to help collaborate and cross-promote is people who actually give a damn about you. And if you're building relationships and I hate, okay, the reason why I say building relationships, it's such a high-level BS way of saying, just talk to people and be friendly. I hate that. Building relationships is so much more important when you actually give a damn about that person, when you can talk something other than professional development and talk more on the personal level, because people will refer to people that they know, like, and trust. Are you reaching out to past clients and checking in? I'm sure, ladies and gentlemen, you have a whole stack of business cards that you haven't done anything with in the past month. So if that's the case, this is a great time to start re-engaging. Learning and developing a new skill from local subject matter experts. And what's really important about that is everyone right now, the majority of people, not everyone, I'm not going to pigeonhole everyone, but the majority of people right now are either working twice as hard or not as much. We will never get this time back. It's extremely, please understand, we'll never get this time back. If you have a skill that you need to enhance for your position or for your job, there are subject matter experts there on LinkedIn, on YouTube, that are giving out so much free content that you can follow and identify different ways to complete tasks to save you time. So within that networking activity, if you build up relationships with those subject matter experts, they can either become a resource for you, a free resource, a mentor to help you with your professional development, and it gives you access to their network as well, which may help you down the line. And then are you nurturing your network by staying engaged with their content? So it's super important to recognize when you're nurturing content, that means sharing, commenting thoughtfully, and engaging in a way that is, again, thoughtful. I'm not saying, check this out, like a, little thing down, like a pointer down. I'm saying, I loved how in this article that my strategic partner wrote, she explains X, Y, and Z. If I got a response from one of my BS articles that I wrote, because I don't write articles, I do videos, but I get, some kind of feedback, that allows me to see, oh my goodness, I'm putting out valuable content. They're seeing it, they're engaged in it, which means that I'm now top of mind. So what's your, your goal for networking virtually? All of these things, if you answered yes to any of these things, these are all networking activities, okay? Cool. See questions coming in. Rachel. Thank you very much. Joe. Care about you too, Joe. Cool. Next thing. Knowing yourself. I cannot stress how important this is. A little bit of backstory. When I started this career, this was about 3 years ago, I had graduated college in 2010. I had, coming right out of the recession, I had 19 jobs after I graduated college. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I never got fired. It was always mergers and acquisitions and budget cuts. And I had great performance reviews and I did everything I was supposed to. But the problem with that is that I did not have any idea of what I was good at, because I was in survival mode and I would pick any position that I could get, and using my network was what saved my life, truthfully, what got me on this path. And what's important to recognize is that when I decided to sit down and actually give a damn about my skill set instead of just doing what I was told, because I was a very, very compliant person, coming from an assistant background, that's what you did. You keep your head down and you do what you're told. It's also because I'm Irish Catholic and I'll work until I stroke out. But what was helpful for me by identifying my skill set and what motivated me to complete tasks and what things and what activities that I would thrive in, instead of trying to overcompensate for every single weakness, every single thing I couldn't do. So doing something like a DISC assessment or a Myers-Briggs allows you to increase your emotional intelligence and see what things not to do. If you are a self-proclaimed introvert and you really don't like events, either you figure out how to like events or you triple down on different activities that give you the same result as to why you'd be going to that event. Especially for the conferences coming now, especially for my introverts. The only difference is that between an introvert and extrovert, in my head, is the energy level. So instead of going to every single event or every single thing, set up one-on-one meetings beforehand by reaching out to the vendors or reaching out to the speakers and having those one-on-one meetings rather than going to every single booth, because that physically can be overwhelming. But you can still do activities, right? So in order for, again, I have a trash brain half the time, but what really helped me identify the things that I was good at and the skill sets that I had was doing these things for the emotional intelligence assessment. That way my activity was more intentional and I wasn't spinning my wheels on all these things. So again, emotional intelligence, are you a mix of both? This also allows you to see, do I like and do I learn by going to webinars? Do I learn by going to conferences? Do I learn by just watching TED Talks on the topic? And this allows you to work smarter, not harder. So as you're building up your networking activity, before you do anything, and I can send over a link to a free DISC assessment, because usually they're expensive, but I've got like a deep link I can give you guys, is find out who you are. Because when you don't have to know business, you have to know people. And if you figure out who you are, you're able to figure out how to network effectively and put the activity that breeds the results by doing the activity that you enjoy doing and triple down on that. Oh, and what is your time worth? Because right now, time is money. And right now, everybody either has an abundance of it or has very little of it. So if you can identify the activities based on your personality, on how you achieve tasks quickly, that allows you to figure out how much your time is worth and put the activity that breeds the results. Cool. Next. And then where are you spending it? Where are you spending your time? Are you on Instagram? Are you on Facebook? Are you scrolling through things? No. Spend your time in a space that works to help build your network and communicate with new people. All right. Again, promotion versus prevention. Which mindset are you? Are you in a space where you're excited about networking? You curious about networking? Are you open-minded about the potential opportunities and collaborations and all the fun things you can learn? Or do you go in there thinking you want to poke your eyeball out with a very high-based stick? You know, it just depends. So when you go into a situation, you got to think to yourself, okay, am I going in and talking to this new person, or going in and going to this conference in a prevention mindset or a promotion? Am I there to promote myself or prevent myself from hell? You know, just, I get it. Think about what side of the line that you're on. Okay, who to network with. It's very important. It's 3 people, 3 types of people: strategic partners, subject matter experts, and your current network. And we're going to define all of those. Strategic partners are people that are either your vendors because they refer you business. They are people who are in complementary businesses who share the same target market. So for example, a real estate agent and a divorce lawyer are fantastic strategic partners, because if you're getting a divorce, you're typically downsizing or upgrading depending on the agreement. So you're sharing the same kind of client and there's no competition. So look at the buying persona of the people of your target market and figure out what areas they would have had to go through before they got to you, right? When someone's buying a house, maybe they need financing. They're typically going to a banker trying to get a loan. You know, think about that progress of your client, because those industries that they're going to, in addition to you, are going to be the ones that you want to connect with. So I challenge you today, come up with 5 different industries, 5 different industries that would share your target market that are complementary, and then find 2 to 3 people in each of those industries that you can connect with. In addition to that, you want to go to webinars and workshops and have one-on-ones with those industries. That's how you build a network and have it grow. And when you meet somebody new, or when you get introduced to somebody new, ask them, hey, I really love networking with these people in these industries. Who can you reference to me that you know, like, and trust? And then that way, that network is grown and your network is working for you more than you just going to a direct client and having a one-off. So it's kind of building this group of champions, or this army who's advocating for you in the room when you're not there. Subject matter experts, so important. There are people out there that know more than you. I promise. There are people out there that know more than me. There are people out there that are better at everything, right? Start watching. There's nothing wrong with going in and looking at somebody who is successful in their business and reaching out to them and saying, I love what you're doing. I love how you're communicating. I love what your business is about. I'd love to learn more about how you got started. People love talking about themselves. People love it. I love it. I love attention. This is why I do what I do. But my point is, the subject matter experts are the ones that are going to help you navigate through the jungle, which is the world right now. And it's allowing you to start and seeing the content and the industry on a different perspective and on a more intentional path. So that way you're not getting pulled into 14 different directions with all the stuff that's out there. The next is your current network. Your current network is super important because I'm sure there's low-hanging fruit that you haven't reached out to. There are clients and there are people on your LinkedIn that you have not reached out to. There are people that if you just ask for an introduction would do it in a heartbeat because they love you and they respect you. So I would implore you to do this. Go through those 5 industries we talked about and see who fills those slots. And then start making phone calls. And with each of the people that you talk to, ask for another introduction. And you keep doing that every day, your calendar is gonna look like somebody threw up on it like mine does. So you consistently build. Now this is a marathon, this isn't a sprint, but this is a way for you guys to start building from what you already have and expanding it further. Okay, here's how to communicate effectively. So now you're reaching out to these 5 people, here's how to communicate effectively. What's important about this is making your name memorable. When you're talking to somebody new or when you're reaching out to somebody and you are trying to engage, right? Making your name memorable does not mean walking into a room and peacocking it and saying, I'm great at this and I have all these things and I'm awesome. Like none of that. Everybody hates that. But making your name memorable means giving yourself permission to engage in a way that is a bit vulnerable. Everybody right now is struggling in some fashion. They got kids at home. They haven't, the PPP loan didn't come in. Finances are hard. People are human. A human interaction will make a lasting impression. So if you're making your name memorable by connecting with them on an emotional level, just to start, just compassion, you're going to start the conversation in a way that is going to be helpful. Always end a conversation with the future in mind. I swear to Christ, if none of you follow up with stuff, I'm going to lose it. Follow up, because everyone is an idiot. If they tell you they're going to follow up, they're not going to follow up because they haven't taken this class and they haven't been yelled at by me yet. When you end a conversation with the future in mind, it gives you an opportunity to take control of the conversation. So what is the call to action? If I have a great call with Rachel and a great call with Rita, I'm saying, hey guys, listen, I had a great call with you. I'd love to regroup next month. Can we put something on the calendar? If you start to kind of make these recurring virtual meetings, or just not even check-ins, but like, how are you doing? It provides a longer lasting relationship. The only two real estate agents I ever refer are the two that give me a call once every month and think, how are you doing, Ash? I'm walking my dog, thought about you, how are you doing? The two people I respond to are the ones that reach out to me and to check in and see how I'm doing. Because I give a damn. Do I know how they work as a real estate agent? No, absolutely not. Yes. Yes.
Hi. So, 12 years in business development and networking, and I will say there are two pieces of the battle. The first half is showing up. It was the face-to-face meeting. It was registering for the face-to-face meeting and actually showing up and not sitting in the corner on your phone. That's not why you're there. Half the battle is showing up, half the battle is following up. People don't do it.
Nope.
They don't do it. And I have seen it across this industry and every other one, architecture, engineering, construction. I'm sorry, I just had to. I'll go back up here. I have to pop in.
Yeah, everyone's an idiot, but you are not. You are not, because you are going to follow up. And you are going to take 24 hours and send a nice thank you email. And you're going to keep track of that in whatever CRM tool that you have, whatever Excel file you can put together, because you are in control of the conversation. Plan structured next step conversations. If you have an introduction phone call with somebody new, what's the next step? You're going to share an article? Are you going to provide a resource? How are you going to help this person? What kind of value can you bring? The next is recognizing storytelling opportunities. This is so important because I cannot tell you how many times I get on a call with somebody and they are regurgitating the script that they had to learn about 10 years ago about their business. I want to punch those people in the throat because there's no passion behind what they do. And if I don't feel like they enjoy what they do or have a value behind their business, I am not referring them. I'm not, because there's no passion behind it. When you recognize storytelling opportunities, do not just tell, nobody cares about your pitch. Forget it. Forget your pitch. Nobody cares. If you can describe an instance where you took a problem and then you fixed it, just like a case study, I want to hear that story. I don't want to hear how you've been in business for 25 years, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I don't care. Tell me how you fixed a problem. And that way I'll be able to recognize a good introduction for you because I know what you can fix. Building a diverse network. This is so important. So important. Everybody networks with people that look like us. That's a human behavior, okay? The best opportunity I've ever received was I got asked to moderate a an African-American museum women in business forum. And they were celebrating all of these amazingly wonderful women. And they asked me to moderate. It was the best time I've ever had, and I got 3 clients out of it. Would I have gone there by myself? Absolutely not. I never would have even thought to do that because they're different groups that I'm comfortable with. I walked in and had the best time, made the best connections. We don't do that just because we're just comfortable, following whatever we do. I challenge you to do a community service activity, to jump on a webinar or a workshop that's different cultures, different races, different gender, whatever it may be. Jump on something new because you have no idea the power other people have unless you take a step and get out of your comfort zone. And then always track the value of networking activities. We're going to talk about CRM tools. I'm going to give you guys some good suggestions to have all that together. I'm sure your companies also have this, but for your own networking opportunity, we've got some great resources and tools. Any questions so far? Great.
So a ton of chat and a ton of love from a bunch of folks. I'm getting text messages too. So super on target. I don't know if there are folks who have questions for you or you want to hold those, totally up to you.
You guys put them in the chat and I'll check in once in a while. I've got a few more slides left, I promise. And then if you guys want to come off of mute, we can chat. This would be great. We'll make it a fun time. All right, here's some pro tips. All right, when it comes to following and kind of, reasons to connect with somebody. If you follow hashtags, now we're talking about engaging thoughtfully online, right? Engaging thoughtfully on LinkedIn specifically. I'm not talking about all social media platforms. I'm talking about being a thought leader on LinkedIn. When you follow hashtags on Twitter and LinkedIn that are relevant to your industry and you comment thoughtfully, you are now engaging with another audience that also has similar ideas as you. That opens the door for a conversation. How many times have you gone into, let's say you've gotten a connection request with no message whatsoever, but being like, oh, this is interesting, let me just connect with them. If they opt in to connect with you, they're opting in to learn about you. Open the door for a 15-minute introduction call. I have a template for that too. Open the door for it. But in order to engage and in order for people to gain interest by following hashtags, let's say, different parts of your industry, you're going to see come up on LinkedIn like, hey, this hashtag is trending, right? In the ones that you follow, the hashtag is trending. You might want to comment thoughtfully on it. If you comment on it, now you're engaged in that community that is interested in an industry that you're in. Take a look and go through and see who's commenting and sharing it and reach out for an introduction call. This is a way to weed out the crap and all the noise that goes on LinkedIn by using this hashtag to focus in on one part of the industry. Oh, good. Next one. Everyone's an idiot. So this is what we talked about. You are responsible. You are responsible for ending and for following up. Now, one of the biggest faux pas that I cannot stand is, ending your messages with "let me know if you'd like to chat" or "how can I help you?" are really saying, I didn't take time to think through what I can do for you, nor what you can do for me. So I'm going to repeat that because, we all use that at the very end of our statements, and it's okay, but let's bump it up a notch. If you say, let me know if you'd like to chat, or how can I help you? You're really saying, I did not take the time to think through what I can do for you, nor what you can do for me. So being intentional about how you can help somebody, come packing with something. Any new person you chat with, any new conversation you have, let's say you follow somebody on Twitter or follow a hashtag, they reach out to you, they connect with you, and you open the door for a 15-minute intro call, you better have something of value that you can provide them. Whether it's a webinar, whether it's a resource within the industry, whether it's an introduction that you think they may like, whatever it may be, come packing with something. Because that is the way that you can intentionally help someone. Always, professional versus personal. You want to acknowledge the conversation. Everything may be more personal right now, and that's okay. This means you're going to have a chance to share conversations that are more candid and more vulnerable, and that is what makes us human. So empathy and kindness, which has always been super critical, is particularly essential right now. And this is a big one. Avoid the one-time reach outs, right? So the virtual coffee dates, just the one-time reach outs. Just as going on many first coffee dates in person is not the best use of your time, the same is true for going on a bunch of one-on-one virtual coffee dates. Make key virtual check-ins recurring so that you are able to get in touch with people repeatedly throughout the pandemic experience. So just, for an in-person coffee, be sure to execute any follow-up or any homework items from the conversation. If you are not taking notes during the conversation or you're not thinking about how you can help somebody, then you are not networking effectively. And you're wasting their time and yours. Now, you're on a call, what the hell do you talk about? These are deep, meaningful business conversation questions. These will also be provided to you guys afterwards, so you have these as a list. Now, these are great questions to ask when you're on a networking call. My favorite question to ask is, out of all of these, is when somebody calls you, what problem are they having? When somebody picks up the phone, what problem are they having? Because that takes them out of their whole script. So it's kind of like guiding them on the best way to describing what they do, but also how you can provide value. It gives them a reason to tell a story. So just like they haven't taken the chance to jump on this call today, give them an opportunity to effectively communicate to you. You're guiding the conversation, you're in control of it. Who are your strategic partners? Who do they like? And you can help them define that. Who are the people that are giving you referrals? Who are in complementary businesses of, similar to yours? Why do you do what you do? Like, why do you care about finance? I don't care about finance. Like, why do you like it? If you're in a heavily saturated market, why are you so good at what you do? Have them explain to you, or at least get it out of them why they want to be successful. So these are super important. So, and then the last bit is, how do you educate your audience? This is going to be a hard one because most people don't do this. The companies that do this are exceptional. So just like you can ask any of these questions, you sure as hell have to be able to answer them as well. Cool. All right, next. I see questions coming in. I know Rachel's got some stuff. Oh, they're just kind of affirming what I'm saying. Perfect. Makes me happy. Awesome, guys. Cool. Tools and resources. If you're taking anything from this conversation, pay attention to this slide. Obviously, tools and resources are fantastic, but here are all the tools that I use on a daily basis, okay? LinkedIn, duh. HubSpot. This is a free CRM tool, and again, you guys may have different things within your companies, but a CRM tool allows a client relationship management system. This allows you, or this tool specifically allows you to sync up with your calendar, sync up with your emails, and allow you to track the conversations. And the reason why this is great is because it allows me to add tasks to specific contacts. So I get remembered, or I have a email or a task list that allows me to follow up with that person so my trash brain doesn't go in the trash. So it allows you to look at the data when they opened up emails, things like that. It's a great way for you to also sync up all of your contacts, because God forbid anything happens to your jobs. Now you have a way where you can maintain your network and remember, so that way you're safe. I'm not saying anything's going to happen to your jobs. I'm saying 19 jobs after graduation. I'm just saying cover your bases. Hio, Hit It Off, is a social application that is a way for you to communicate with other people who attend virtual meetings. It's a free tool to use as a user. It's a free tool to use as a event planner. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to communicate effectively within an event that you sign up for, whether it's a conference, a virtual summit, a hangout, whatever it may be. It allows you to manage that and share contact information, and the features are fantastic. Calendly. Calendly is the #1 tool that I use for everything. Calendly allows me to capture the people that I have introduction calls with to see where they came from. So for example, Calendly syncs up with my only available time on my calendar and only shows available time. So someone says, hey, I'd like to schedule some time with you. No problem, here's the link. They click on the link, it shows available half-hour, 15-minute increments of time that's available on my calendar. They throw it on. In that, there's a quick 3-question questionnaire that says, hey, thanks for connecting, what's your phone number, what's your name, your industry, and how do we connect? So on the back end of this, you're able to see in the last month where those leads came from, where those introduction calls came from. Did they come from an event? Did they come from your LinkedIn activity? Did they come from your newsletter? Did they come from an introduction from somebody else? I pull that data, take a look and say, oh, you know what? The past 2 months, Steve Goodman sent me 3 people and I completely forgot to thank him. It keeps you honest with who you're nurturing your network with. So if somebody's sending you 3 introductions and you forgot because you're busy with all these other things that are going on, now you're going to take Steve out to breakfast or send him over a gift card. And now you're maintaining and keeping honest with all these things that are going on. Power Match is an organization that matches up like-minded individuals to cross-promote and to collaborate. So Power Match is about $40 a month, and what they do is that they match you up with other members. I think there's about 40 members. They just went international with a few people, and they match you up. There's no selling. It's basically you get matched up with strategic partnerships, and it's all virtual. They already had a remote program before the pandemic, and now they're just amplifying it. But this is a great way, and they put everything on your calendar. They give you, the reasons why they matched you up, the LinkedIn profiles of that person. It's all automatic, and they make it so it's easy for you to connect with strategic partners within the groups that they have. The majority of the members are all on the East Coast. However, they're expanding and they're doing all these other things. Evernote is just a great way to keep track of notes. So the way that I do when I have an introduction call, this also keeps me honest. This is just an organizational thing. All the ladies are nodding because I think it's great. So the Evernote is a way for me to think of notes on steroids, right? So there's an app on your phone and there's a desktop application that you can download, again, for free, and you can create notebooks. Within those notebooks, what I do is, so that way I don't scramble and forget to do things. If I'm on a call with somebody and I'm like, running around the house and I'm on a call and they say, you know what, I really like to be introduced to these 3 types of industries. On my phone, I can write this down under the notebook that says introductions to give and jot it down quickly. And then on Fridays, I go through that full list of my week and I fire off those introduction emails and I block my time out to do that. That has been a really great way for me to stay honest and not to get overwhelmed. Because in the beginning, truthfully, I was giving out introductions all day long, which I love doing, but I was missing some. And that's unacceptable in my brain. So I came up with this process and this system, which I'm hoping helps you guys as well, especially as you're giving introductions and remembering to remind yourself to do what you say you're going to do. Okay, so that's how I use Evernote. Okay, here is, I'll definitely answer you, Sally. I'm almost done, I pinky promise. All right, remember when we talked about that DISC assessment? Here's a really creepy tool. This tool really helped me in the beginning as I was learning different processes and people. It's called Crystal Knows. Crystal Knows is a tool used to, it's a plugin on top of your LinkedIn. And what it does is that it pops out a slider on the right-hand side and it gives you a suggestion of what personality type that person is based off of the AI on the back end of LinkedIn. And it gives you ways of being able to communicate with that person. So if you need to call Ashley so I can make a sales pitch, it'll give you advice on how to communicate effectively. So as you guys are prospecting, don't tell anybody I said prospecting because this is a networking event, but as you guys are looking into communicating effectively with somebody who's a very different personality type and you want to make sure that you're being intentional about that communication, this is a really fancy tool to be able to give you suggestions on how to do that. I love using it because when I coach my clients, I will run this on them and I will be able to coach them more effectively based off of what they do not respond to. So that way I'm not, coming in with my head cut off being this magnificent, unicorn flower when they really just want like bullet points, right? So it's being respectful of the other person's communication style. This is a great way to do that. Next. Calendly analytics. Okay, so here's just a proof of like how I pulled stuff from 2018. I think I had like 347 introduction calls in the whole year. I, for the life of me, swore up and down that my newsletter was what was giving me all the introduction calls. Nope, just one little lonely person there. It was all coming from referral, which means that my activity and my process of anybody that I have the privilege to talk to, and I'm making introductions to, when I put so much time and effort into the end of the year in 2017 when I started the business, all I did was give out introductions. That's all I did without any service offerings, was now coming back. So out of all of this, 144 people physically or virtually sent me an introduction to somebody. So that referral came from just me putting into practice what we're talking about today is that here's the proof. That's what I'm trying to say. Here's the proof that what it looks at. And then like the next is LinkedIn. So I would spend 3 hours on this beautifully crafted newsletter, and now it's down to 15 minutes because look, this is where everything's coming from. So I can now work smarter, not harder in your activity. Cool. Next, LinkedIn templates. I swear 75% of the time this works. So as you guys are building up connections on LinkedIn, as you guys are commenting thoughtfully on hashtags and things like that, if they are connecting with you, open the door for an opportunity to chat with them. It's 15 minutes. You can have it over a cup of coffee. You can be in your underwear. It's 15 minutes. Everyone deserves 15 minutes, especially if they have a story to tell, right? So when they request, someone sends a LinkedIn request to you, I always say, thank you for reaching out to connect. I truly hope you and your family are safe and sound during this crazy pandemic. Since we're now connected, I'd love to learn more about what you do and get to know you better. Hopefully I can make an introduction or two. Let's set up a time to chat. This is 100% not a sales call. Here's my Calendly link. Looking forward to learning more about you. It's non-invasive, it's non-aggressive, it's opening door for opportunity, and do not get butthurt if nobody responds. Not a big deal. It's not a big deal because there's going to be more and more opportunity. LinkedIn is vast and crazy and big, and you've got opportunity here to open the door. My calendar is stupid right now because all I've been doing because I have the pleasure and the privilege to be connected with people. I'm privileged to have that. But take the opportunity to open the door for a conversation because you guys are leaving a lot of connections at the door because there's not really best practices here. I'll get to you, Joe, I promise. Last one. In conclusion, knowing yourself, making your name memorable, know who you're networking with, being proactive to reach out to build networking capacity, okay? Planning your work and working your plan structured next step conversations, and screw up. Don't worry about it. There are so many opportunities to meet with new people, especially and be more intentional. If you screw up and you forget to follow up, do not beat yourself up on it. Ladies, I'm looking at all of you. Do not worry. I was so bad at this in the beginning. So bad. I must have put my foot in my mouth so many times, okay? But I learned quickly. And if you're a woman who multitasks, who is a mom, you're gonna figure it out. It's gonna work. Men, same thing. Screw up, apologize, move on, okay? But recognize that this takes practice, and because it takes 28 days to build a habit. Again, this is a marathon, not a sprint, but hopefully I've been able to show the metrics to show you that it does work, and the reason why I get paid is because it works. But my point is, like, identify the right activities, and we can talk about this later, of how to network effectively, but to nurture that network. And guys, activity breeds results. If you're not doing anything, if you're not doing it, nothing's gonna happen. We're not gonna force feed you. We're not gonna handhold you. If you're not doing any activities, it's not gonna work. Now, again, reminder, networking is a marketing activity, not a sales one. You are not there to sell to anybody. You are there to communicate effectively, okay? Especially now when you guys are talking about conferences and things like that, it's the same activity. You're going on LinkedIn, you're reaching out to the vendors and saying, especially for my introverts, and seeing who you can have set up one-on-one conversations with beforehand and say, hey, this is a commonality that we have. We're both attending. I'd love to learn more about your business. Do it now while you have the time. And then if you're looking for a job as well, the subject matter experts are the ones that you want to have information conversations with. Those are the people you want to talk to, and your current network to say, hey, I'm looking, and there's a difference between a 50-cent ask and a $50 ask. The $50 ask is go into your current network, maybe your client, maybe somebody that is a subject matter expert, and saying, do you know of anybody that can utilize my services? That person now has to go through their head, and they have to filter through all the people they think might be able to help you, which is just a little disrespectful. Then a 50-cent ask is saying, I am looking to meet 3 people in this industry. Could you please recommend somebody that you know, like, and trust? Oh, and by the way, here's a great little intro for you to copy and paste. Please CC me on it. I will take it from there. That's the difference between asking and offering. Cool. So we have some questions. You guys will get this link afterwards, which is tools and resources. So that way you have like links to all the things I talked about so you guys can play around with that. All right. Got some questions. Nicole, la la la. Sally, I love your statement. So how do you tell your own interest story? So it's important. People love to hear your own personal story. How do you learn to be a good storyteller myself, especially if you're shy or introverted? Okay. Being a good storyteller is based off of recognizing who your audience is. Let me go into that. The best way to figure out your pitch, and I'm saying this as you guys are, if you just started your own business or if you're starting in your own, whatever, you're trying to figure out the cadence and the tone, I highly suggest do virtual speed networking or do actual speed networking, and then sit back, and I actually train my clients into this. So we sit back and we go to speed networking, and all you're doing is after every single person, you're testing out a new bit. And by bit, I mean a new statement. What I want you to do is I want you to pay attention, like you're gonna screw up, number one. But what I want you to do is I want you to pay attention to the emotional response that somebody gets when you say your line or when you say your pitch, and then tweak it on every single person. So by the time you're done, now you can see how the story comes together because you tested different kinds of ways of explaining it. And honestly, if you have passion for what you do and you're excited about what you do, you could sell everything. I sell people. I actually don't sell anything. I talk to people all day, and I'm able to do it because I'm extraordinarily passionate about it. But if you're fiercely loyal to what you do and you're fiercely passionate, people will see that and they will gravitate towards it. So if you're an introvert, that just means you're more intentional about the things that you say. You don't throw away lines. You don't, ramble like I do. I'm an extrovert because I enjoy attention, right? You're an introvert, you enjoy thought. You're intentional about the things that come out of your mouth, which is extremely, extremely valuable. So do not see it as a problem. See it as a huge, huge benefit, because what comes out of your mouth is the most important thing, which means that people are going to respect you more. Hopefully that helped. Okay. Oh, Joe's chatty in the chat. Okay, Joe. Oh, Joe. So LinkedIn, who not to connect with? I don't connect with competitors, coworkers, thoughts. Joe, why not? Will you connect with coworkers? Everyone's a friend. Seriously. But Joe, your question is important because, you want to connect with people that are strategic partners, so people that are in complementary fields. There's nothing wrong with connecting with somebody who's interesting in their business, because if they're active on LinkedIn and they just happen to see your personality come through your posts, they may share and like it, which then extends that post's reach to their audience. So unless they're coming at you and selling you something, I typically connect and open the opportunity for a 15-minute phone call. But if they don't take that opportunity, but I put the message out there, then I remove them every month because they didn't take. Go ahead, Joe.
I mean, the competitor part of me though says that if my competitor sees what I'm doing, I think that's more of a disadvantage, to that they see exactly what I'm doing, what I'm involved with, and that can lead to someone else in their organization as well, because I've seen it happen. So I've purposely gone through and took out all my competitors that were in my contact, because I saw an example where someone saw what I was doing and they used information to their advantage.
That's incredibly rude that they did that. But yes, take out your competitors for them not to see it. Your colleagues, if they're stealing your stuff, that's an HR issue. But you control the stuff that you put out there, right? So maybe if we can brainstorm this. If you think about what you're putting out there is an opportunity for you to educate your audience rather than telling them what you're doing. So for example, if you are going through and saying like, hey, we're going to be at this conference, look at all the things that we've been able to accomplish, that's different than saying, here are the top 10 tips that I saw that was a resource of how to do an effective, vendor relation at this conference. But what you're doing is excited for IPMI coming in the end of the year. You're still telling people what you're doing, but you're educating. You're a thought leader on LinkedIn. So so think about it. If you don't tell them what you're doing, you can still celebrate your network on LinkedIn, which is what you want to do. So your thought leadership attachment to, or your thought leadership communication style should be on educating your vendors and educating your strategic partners on best practices, but do not tell them that where you are on a Saturday morning, like hustling and like going through processes. Go ahead, Rach.
So I have an experience from a few years back. We've done a number of books and resources with IPMI, right? And some of, this is specific to the consultants because it was about design and sustainability. Some of them didn't want to contribute as a chapter because they didn't want to give away the store. And I was like, you can't design a parking garage because you read a chapter in a book, first of all. So but that's fine. But a lot of people, I actually would stay connected with my competitors and see if I could segment my communication to just certain groups on LinkedIn. I'm sure you can do that. But the reality is you're assuming someone's actually going to do something after seeing it. And the reality is that most people are so lazy, they will never take that action, right? So whoever like kind of copied your stuff or like actually paid attention is really a hustler and a go-getter. You may want to hire them, first of all, because most people will do absolutely nothing. They will talk about how it's great. They will share it with their team, but them actually taking action to do it, who knows, right? I mean, there are tons of opportunities to build brand. Do you write for the IPMI blog? You're not giving away the store. You're sharing your name. You're sharing your expertise, right? Yeah. So, and that's free and it's 200 words. And Kim is thanking me right now for her plug, right? Or the forum, right? Or the forum, like, there are tons of free ways to communicate directly with our community that aren't LinkedIn too. So don't just look at that. You know what I mean? But I understand the fear of giving away the store. But I think it's one of those things you just got to move past because those relationships are going to prove really valuable to you. Even with your competitors, this is a tight industry. People don't go very far. They're coming back around, right? And they might be with a client next time. So you know what I mean? Like they do shift and move. So you want to have those relationships.
But Joe, you're the subject matter expert, man. Like put him to shame. Run him out of business. Like, why not?
These are all great points. You do make some excellent points. And I'll reconsider.
We can reconsider. But can I do have a funny story. We're all friends now because, Rita and Rachel make it pretty easy. But there was a woman that had the same, background as me, or not background, she had the same title as me. I had no idea who she was. And she was upset that I was doing a lot of things. And so I heard through the grapevine that she gets very upset very quickly. And unfortunately she starts to accuse people of stealing ideas from whatever. So in that case, what I did was, just to protect my brand, is I blocked all communication from any of her profile, social media, whatever, so I can never be accused of stealing anything, so I wouldn't see it. So on the flip side, I did that for me, so that way I can have an unbiased professional development without being influenced by other forces or other things out there. But that's also another example of why you would probably do that. But totally up to you. But you're the subject matter expert. And if they feel, like Rachel said, if they feel the need to steal it, then you're going to do it better. It's like the Paul Revere and the William Dowse example, right? Like, how are you putting your information out there? By building a good network, because you're the information broker. So as long as the right people are seeing the message, you're going to do better than William Dowse.
Mm-hmm. Ash, this is the fastest hour I have spent since lockdown.
I'm so sorry.
No, I mean, in a good way. Like, I hope that other people are inspired, that they're on fire. I do want to ask if you have any closing comments. We obviously have our virtual event coming up June 1st and 2nd. If you have questions, contact me or Rita. You know what I mean? We want you to be there. This content is going to be shared on that forum. Do you have any thoughts on how to maximize that experience? I mean, you got 2 days, right? But the platform's available for an entire year. Yeah. So your live networking period is 2 days. Many of our folks here are attendees and exhibitors. They want to max out that time. How can they do that, or thoughts?
Yeah, to max out that time, I mean, doing your research beforehand. I mean, we've got the opportunity now where you're not just walking into a conference or walking into a summit and hoping you meet with the right person. You all know how to use the internet. You join today. You know how to research. You join today. Be proactive now. now. Like, get fired up. If you want to meet with some of these vendors, start following their LinkedIn pages, start reaching out to connect, and start sharing their stuff. Stay top of mind, but do it thoughtfully. We all have a commonality right now. We're all going through a pandemic. I'm not saying going into a conversation and be like, so how are you pivoting? Just be like, I'm here for you. I'm sorry this is happening. Like, how can I help you? How can I help you do X, Y, and Z? So go into those conversations now, because you have access to everybody's contact, I'm assuming, right, Rachel? Like the vendors and stuff.
Right, but
out.
a live period, right? So you have and the Expo's open all day, right?
Yeah.
So live booth hours plus Expo's open all day. So you might want to hit some of the live education, absolutely, but you're going to have that platform for an entire year to get education, to do the follow-up, whatever. But there's a kind of a short window, especially for our folks who are exhibiting, sponsoring partners, to do outreach to our community to make sure that people come see them.
Yep.
And provide something really special when they go. Don't just link to your homepage.
It's annoying. What's the call to action? What's the follow-up attachment? How are you guys keeping in touch with them every month? Like, you guys are your own personal brand, whether you have your own businesses or not. How are you positioning yourself as a subject matter expert in your field? How are you positioning yourself as somebody that people can know, like, and trust? And how are you positioning yourself in a way that is valuable to somebody else?
Right.
So as you're building your network and as you're talking to these vendors, how are you giving back to them? Nobody gives a shit about what you do. Nobody cares. But how are you giving value? It's the most important thing. How are you giving value? Because let me tell you, that networking equity is, all I did from August to December of 2017 was go to 1,000 different networking events and make 1,000 different introductions. I had no service offerings. I have not networked for myself in the typical sense since 2018, because the process of introducing, and it's like what's that movie with the Beautiful Mind? Beautiful Mind. If you think of the one scene where he's got all these things and he's out of control, that's what the network looks like. It starts with one person. And guys, one more thing. I cannot stress this enough. Don't look at it as volume. It takes one person to make a difference. It takes one person to influence in a certain way. One person at a time. Craft it. You can't make 1,000 different pottery things. You take your time. You take your time on each person. Everyone has a story. It's just whether or not you want to listen to it. You have no idea who you're helping and who you're saving. With an idea or a resource or a recommendation, you have no idea. We are human and we need to be human right now. So your network, you start the narrative. You start that. And that's how to build an effective network.
Fantastic. I know there will be follow-up questions. I know there are resources coming. We're so excited. So we're going to send the recording out to everybody who did make it and couldn't make it. We're going to post it on YouTube. There's no way you can escape it. We are thrilled you were here today. Always reach out to anybody at IPMI, anything we can do to help you, especially during this time. And we will hopefully see you very soon. Have a great day. Thank
you guys so very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.